All right. Happy Saturday, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. Just to let everybody know, Mr. Steve Campbell, our great leader, is on with us today, but he is sick. He is not going to come on camera today because he's been sick the last few days. But we're glad he was able to just jump on and listen anyway. Thanks, Steve, for all that you do for us and for making this all possible. So today I have the great privilege and honor to be able to share with you some really cool stuff that really I think helps us to understand where we fit in this whole ecosystem of Cirrus and Gnodi and everything. And I put together a presentation that has to do with basically the Constitution, right? They call the Gnodi Constitution, and so we can better understand, the structure of everything we're doing, and also understand tokenization, right? Tokenization is a big part of what we're all about here. So let's go ahead and dive right in and just understand the Gnodi Constitution, right? And of course, United States, the grand experiment coming up on 250 years of this amazing idea of a constitutional government and all the benefits and separation of powers and all the things that we've enjoyed that have made for what I think most of us would agree is one of the most successful countries ever, and a lot of countries in the rest of the world adopted and kind of modeled after that. Like Mexico and others, they also have a constitutional government because it's powerful, right? And it's allowed people to be entrepreneurs. It's allowed people to have freedoms. It has protections for so many people. And so Cirrus and Gnodi put together kind of a similar thing, right? They call it the Constitution, the Gnodi Constitution. And you can find it in your back office. You can find it on, it's under the Gnodi.info website. And, it's a document you can download. It has great information, more details. I'm just covering some of the highlights of it. I'm not going to dive into all the details, but the first thing we always want to mention whenever we talk about anything to do with tokenization and decentralization and everything we're doing with, it's a blockchain environment. And so we do want to put up our disclaimer here that basically says, hey guys, we're not guaranteeing any kind of income. We're not promising any kind of ROI or, this is not an investment, any of those kind of things, right? All we're saying here is that with Cirrus and with Gnodi, we are participating in an amazing decentralized project that has a reward system. And in the Cirrus case, it has a compensation plan. And if you learn those and utilize those in their appropriate form, then you can actually treat this as a home-based business that will allow you to increase your finances. But we're not guaranteeing anything. This is not a job or anything like that. All right. So having said that, welcome to the future, because we as digital landlords are part of what we call a DAO. Okay, a DAO, the Gnodi DAO. What does that stand for? It's a decentralized, autonomous organization. Okay. So what is that? What is a decentralized autonomous organization? Well, it's a member-owned community that operates without any kind of centralized leadership. All right. So there's not a CEO, right? There's not a chief financial officer, right? That no. And in a DAO, it's all based on the blockchain. It's all based on what they call smart contracts. Okay, so the rules are encoded and enforced by the blockchain itself, by the smart contracts built into the blockchain. So it makes everything, its operations and its treasury and everything, it's all transparent and autonomous, right? So the decisions are typically made through a collective voting process by the members who hold its government tokens. So the more ownership you have, right, through more node ownership, more being a digital landlord, the more voice you have, the more vote you have. Okay, but it's functionally similar to a corporation in that it does have an organization with a shared treasury, it has members, and it has a government structure to make decisions, but it's fundamentally different in its structure. All right, but we're part of that, and the way it works is that we have all these really cool benefits because it's decentralized. All right, so when we have a structure, what we mean is we don't necessarily have, like I mentioned, a CEO, right, or a central authority or intermediary or anything like that. But we do have members who could participate in different roles. Okay, autonomy. What does that mean? Well, it means users decide how much they will contribute to the community. There's transparency because it's all based on the record in the transparent ledger, which is the blockchain, which is accessible to everybody, right? There's no hiding it. You can't hide the books per se, right? You can't have corruption because everybody has access. Now, security, it's still, even though I say everyone has access, I mean, there's still privacy, okay? There's still security. It's not like people can go in and see what you bought for lunch, right? No, that's not what we're talking about. But, there is transparency for what's happening on the blockchain, okay? And then, of course, security means that it can resist attacks better because there's not a single point of failure. It's efficient and they reduce, cost. Why? Because you can eliminate intermediaries, right? We reduce transaction costs and we streamline the process. And then, of course, there's censorship resistance also, because no single entity controls our decentralized blockchain, making it less susceptible to censorship. So it really does truly bring freedom, participation, and there can be no that's the one thing I love about network marketing also, right, is this idea of it doesn't matter your background, it doesn't matter if you're male or female, it doesn't matter if you're old or young, it doesn't matter if you got a college degree or you didn't, right? The benefit is that if you just go in and you do the work, you will have the success. It's that simple, right? Doesn't matter if you speak English or Spanish, right? Like none of that matters other than just whoever does the most work, whoever does the most participation is the one that can have the most success. It's that simple in networking. And also here that with the DAO, right, is that you don't have that single point of failure. You don't have anybody that could potentially discriminate or have favoritism or any of that kind of stuff. Right? It's just all transparent and no corruption. It's beautiful. Okay, so how does it work? Well, it's very simple. To participate, to be an owner in the DAO, you purchase a node license. Okay, that's how you get ownership. You become a digital landlord, and that could be from a full node or multiple full nodes all the way down to micro X1 nodes, right? Everybody that has a node participates. Okay, and like I said, micro X1 nodes, just having a Meetin subscription, just having a Cirrus Safe subscription, that means you are a digital landlord. It's micro, but you still get to participate. Really cool. Then you run that software. Okay, so node owners are running the software in the background, right, which provides the power to the what we call Delphi applications, which are the SaaS products that we all know and love, right? So, and it gives that the computer power that's necessary to perform their function, to create that digital ledger. And then, as a favor for contributing to it, for providing that power, you get rewards. Okay, so you're going to get in a return for your contribution, you get Gnodi rewards, which you can then exchange either for material goods or potentially convert into fiat money, right, dollars, and in exchange, right, in the future Gnodi marketplace that we'll all have, right? And then, of course, the idea is to grow the community. So node owners can earn additional Gnodi digital rewards for increased effort and innovation within the decentralized ecosystem. Okay, so I know that's all kind of a lot of gobbledygook there, but the idea is that we're just digital landowners, and we participate in as little or as much as we want, depending on which nodes we purchase. And it can be as simple as just getting one of the SaaS products, or it could be getting a mini node or a half node, a quarter node, full node, whatever it is. And the more you have, the more rewards you get, and the more voice you have in the community. Okay, so what are our roles and responsibilities? So this is all coming from the Constitution, right? So as node owners, okay, all who own a node in the blockchain, that's who an owner is, okay? So that's the definition, is somebody who owns a node. And again, it could be just a micro node, right? So even customers can be node owners, and they maintain their nodes, they participate in the governance and discussions, and they propose policies, right? And then there's something called the Gnodi Consortia DAO. So this is the supreme decision-making body within the Gnodi blockchain. It comprises all the node owners, each with one vote, and it approves major protocol changes, new Delphi applications, and other significant decisions. And then there's something called the Council of Guardians. Kind of cool. I like that name. I thought I said that. Wow, Council of Guardians. How do I get on the Council of Guardians? Well, so they're actually elected. Okay, so you have elected representatives from the community who actually get to oversee day-to-day governance. And this council consists of 5 members that serve 1-year terms. Interesting, right? And the responsibility of the Council of Guardians is to include allocating funds, managing disputes, and ensuring adherence to the Constitution. We have a Constitution here. Really cool. And then you also have developers, right? So you have the developers who they're individuals and teams who are contributing to the development of the blockchain, and they work on technical advancements such as application development, protocol updates. They must adhere to the principles and guidelines set forth by the DAO and the Council of Guardians, of course. But that's the idea, right? All the developers could be those developing SaaS products or bringing other value to the Gnodi blockchain. So how fun is that, right? We all participate as node owners, of course. You have the consortia, you have the Council of Guardians, and I don't know who those are, but I'm going to make a guess that you probably have people like Craig Pickering and probably Bob Steed, or they're likely the initial Council of Guardians, but we'll have to find out more about that and really understand it. But it's cool. It's all written out in the Constitution that we have this Council of Guardians, and making sure that it's all working, and they serve on 1-year terms. So any of us could potentially be on the Council of Guardians, and I'm guessing they'll have these elections for these 1-year terms, and as node owners, we get a vote, right? We get to vote on who is part of the Council of Guardians. Okay, so let's talk about tokenomics, because as we mentioned, those that are on that Council of Guardians, and those that are the developers, and those that are in that consortium, all of that is all about creating value, right? It's all about creating utility with our blockchain and the tokens. And so, because if there wasn't value in the token and the blockchain, then all of this would be for nothing, right? Why would any of us participate? And so that's their responsibility. So how do they do it? How do they create value? How do they create utility with our Gnodi blockchain? Well, it's all through what we call tokenomics, right? So it's all about incentivizing participation and ensuring fair distribution and maintaining a sustainable economic model, right? So this whole section is going to talk about how that works, about how the daily distribution mechanism, how we get our rewards, the tokenomics of it all, principle governing, and of course the Gnodi native utility token, which is our GNOD token, which is our reward. Okay, so how does it all work? Well, it's all about the foundation of tokenomics is the total supply and the utility, and of course the value accrual. Okay, so if you don't have utility, there's no real use for the token, then of course it's going to be worthless, right? And so we have to figure out how to grow the benefits of using the blockchain and using the token, and then of course the supply mechanics of it all, right? How the tokens are created, how they're distributed, how they're retired, all those things. So in the beginning, okay, we have to understand that there is a finite amount of Gnodi tokens. Okay, there are only 35 billion Gnodi tokens that will ever exist ever. So similar to how Bitcoin works. Bitcoin had, I can't remember, I think it's 21 million. Pretty sure that's what it is. 21 million Bitcoins that will ever exist, ever. Okay, that's all that can ever exist. And so, because it's limited, just like gold, right? There's only a certain amount of gold on the planet Earth, and and most of the easy gold was gotten in the beginning, and now it's really hard to get gold, right? And the mining operations, everything. And so, because of scarcity, because it's limited, because it's finite, it now has value because there's utility in gold, right? People love gold for its beauty, and jewelry, but also for its utility. Gold is used in electronics and things like that. And so there's actual use for gold, right? Other than it just looks pretty. But that's the whole idea. It's scarce and it can be used and people want it. Okay. And so that's what gives it its value. And it's the same thing here. We have a limited amount of Gnodi tokens that will ever exist. So we're ensuring scarcity and potential value appreciation. Okay. So here's the key thing. I want everybody, if you're taking notes, if you're writing anything down, if you're thinking about, okay, why am I part of this Gnodi thing? Why am I here in Cirrus in the beginning? We don't have all the stuff yet. Some of the products that we've been talking about haven't been released yet. So why am I here? This one right here, this initial distribution. Everybody screen capture it, write it down. This is the important takeaway from today. At the Genesis block, the network distributes 50% of the total supply, 17.5 billion, within the first year to incentivize early participation and drive ecosystem growth. Read that again. At the Genesis block, which took place on April 30th, 2025, the network will distribute 50% of the total. Half of that 35 billion, 17.5 billion, goes out in the first year. Everybody, we're already how many months away from the Genesis block, which happened back on April 30th. So right now, even though we don't have the card product, even though we don't have the travel product, even though we don't have the cell phone or the satellite phone product, right? Even though we don't have some of those things yet, okay? Right now is the key moment to being part of all of this, because half of all the tokens are being given out right now in this first year, okay? It's so critical to think about, okay, where are we going, right? When the card product comes out, when the travel comes out, when all these things come out over the next years, right? All the different things, all the potentially hundreds of SaaS products that we'll ever have, and all the utility and everything. It's not a question of if, it's only a question of when this really takes off and people start to see the value in everything. But when is the majority of all the tokens being given out? Right now in this first year. 50%, half of it is all coming out right now. We have the most amazing time right now to take advantage of being node owners and getting the daily distributions, okay? Because what's going to happen on the anniversary date every year, it will cut in half. Okay, so the Gnodi blockchain follows a halving schedule where token distribution halves annually on that Genesis block's anniversary, inspired by Bitcoin. Okay, Bitcoin does the same thing, but Bitcoin does it every 4 years. And here with Gnodi, it's happening every year. So why did they choose that? This mechanism will slow token inflation, ensuring long-term sustainability and value appreciation. Okay, so there will never be a better time to get involved with Nodi, getting a node, than right now during the first year before the masses take place or come in, and before the first time it cuts in half. Okay, so just know that, share that with people, let people know. Don't stress so much about that, oh, the SaaS products, haven't all come out yet. We have an amazing SaaS product that we're using right this very second called Meetin, and it allows for up to 300 people in the room plus more and all the things for the same price, if not less than what Zoom offers, right? And because I'm doing this meeting with you guys, I'm getting rewards for it. It works. And if it was only this product, we could literally go and just build this whole thing out just on Meetin alone, right? But we are getting a card product. We are getting a travel product. We are getting some of these other things eventually, right? Might take a few more months or whatever. Doesn't matter. Right now is when we're getting 50% of the total supply of tokens is this first year. Okay, so let's take advantage of it. All right. So daily distribution mechanism. So here's how it works. So of that 50% that's getting paid out every day, okay, every day there's a certain amount that's going out. The daily allocation in the first year is 47,945,205. Okay, so that many tokens are being distributed on a daily basis, right? Now, after each halving, of course, that will decrease in half. Okay, so of that 47, almost 48 million GPT tokens that are going out every day, right? Where do they go? 40% of them are going out to everyone who owns a traditional node, whether that's a full node, a half node, a quarter node, or a mini node. Okay, all the traditional types of nodes are getting 40% of that every single day. So 19 million, right? About approximately 19 million tokens are getting paid out between all the node owners. And of course, it's fractional, depends on, the more nodes you have, the more you're getting, you get your portion of that based on your total ownership of nodes, okay? The other 40% is getting paid out to those who have SaaS products, right? So the ratio is way higher for SaaS products, and that's by design. They want to pay out more rewards to those that are actually, doing monthly subscriptions than those that just buy a one-time product, right? And so that's why you get way more for just paying for your Cirrus Safe or paying for your Meetin room. Okay, you get the relatively way more tokens for on a daily basis for your subscription than you do for actually buying nodes, right? Which is interesting, but really cool because it incentivizes, it makes you go, oh, I better get Cirrus Safe. I better get Meetin. Why? Because even if I don't use it that much, even if I only do like 1 or 2 meetings a month, I'm getting a way higher percentage of the daily rewards for having that subscription than I would having a node, right? Even though it's great to sell nodes and we want to sell as many nodes as we can and all that because it creates power for the whole blockchain and stuff. That's great, right? And of course, we're incentivized because, we get our 20% in the compensation plan and all that stuff as associates and affiliates. And that's a great way to make some money, right? Upfront money and everything, selling actual nodes because they have a higher dollar amount. But for those that are interested in being node owners, digital landlords, and they just want to be able to maximize the amount of rewards that they can get every day, get your people on these SaaS products. Do it. It's going to benefit them more right now because that's a lot of tokens. 19 million tokens just for having a Meetin subscription, just for having a Cirrus Safe subscription. Okay, you're getting all those rewards. Currently, it's approximately 20 rewards a day for Cirrus Safe and 40 rewards a day for Meetin. Okay, why? Because it's a lot more paying out, and not as many people have the SaaS products as that have been getting the nodes. So get everybody on the SaaS products. They will thank you later. Think of it as I'm buying a X1 node that just happens to have a really cool product service with it. Okay, you want to think about it that way, right? Because that is huge. And then there's another 20% that goes out for different kinds of things. From it could be participation, could be through staking, right? There's all these other things that ways where you can participate and do things. And so there's another 9.5 million tokens that go out every day for participation kind of things, right? So 80% for nodes, whether it's full nodes or X1 nodes, and then 20% for activities, participation. And that could be, for example, sharing something with somebody, or coming into meeting for the first time and watching the video and getting 200 rewards for that kind of stuff. Okay, so ways to earn rewards for doing things also is this 20%. Okay, so huge. And of course, again, all of that will cut in half after 1 year. All right, so we need to be very conscious of that, because in year 2, here's what happens. That daily distribution is going to cut in half, right? So year 2, it's going to go down to almost 9 million. Okay, and then the daily distribution, of course, is then only 23,000, almost 24 million per day, right? And that's going to be the same thing, 40%, 20%, right? But it's half. So basically, as of April 30th, 2026, it's going to cut in half, right? So what happens? For each subsequent year, the total distribution would be halved again, following the same percentage allocations, unless the Council of Governors, right? Or the Council of Guardians, they decide that they want to make a change or whatever. That's always possible. Okay, but the idea is that the way it's built right now in the white paper is that every year that will cut in half. So it will ensure a gradual and sustainable release of tokens, aligning with the principles of scarcity and long-term value appreciation, while consistently rewarding network participants and encouraging ongoing engagement with the platform. So I just wanted to give this little comparison here. When Bitcoin did it, right, and they do it only every 4 years, right? So when they first started out in 2009 with Bitcoin, they were basically rewarding 50 Bitcoins for every transaction or whatever. And then in 2012, it halved, and it was only doing 25. In 2016, it halved again to 12.5. In 2020, it halved again to 6.25. And in 2024, it halved again down to 3.125, right? So that was the reward for completing the proof of work on Bitcoin miners and everything. It's been going in half every 4 years. Okay, and every time it did, look what happened to Bitcoin. On the halvening, it's when it would rally. Okay, every time, here's the halvening. Guess what? The price actually went up. Okay, and so that's what happens with scarcity and utility. You create that scarcity, you create demand, and therefore you create value. And so that is what's going to happen. We hope with the Gnodi token is that the idea of having every single year will create more scarcity and more demand and more utility, and therefore more value. Okay, so here's some examples again. The idea of Bitcoin price history, right? You can kind of see the map as the halvening has happened. The same thing happened with Ethereum. Okay, a whole decade of disrupting finance. You can see how it's gone up and down, yes, but you can see when there was halvening, right? When it cut in half the amount of rewards, it would go up in value. Okay, so that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to duplicate that model. Again, back to our disclaimer: no guarantees, no, right? We're not promising that's what will happen, but the past kind of gives examples and models of what potentially could happen and what we're trying to do. All right, so it is inevitable. Okay, so we want to get positioned as a digital landlord to maximize our potential. What is inevitable? Not the value of the token. I want to be very clear on that. But what is inevitable is tokenization. So Vlad Tenev, the CEO of Robinhood, has described tokenization as an unstoppable freight train that will eventually eat the entire financial system. Speaking at Token 2049 conference in Singapore in October 2025, he predicted that traditional finance and crypto are going to fully merge. So, on the inevitability of tokenization, it was said tokenization is like the freight train, it can't be stopped. It's going to eat the entire financial system. The world is tokenizing, and the United States should not get left behind. And Tenev believes crypto technology offers so many advantages over traditional methods that in the future, there's going to be no distinction between crypto and traditional finance from a user's perspective. So it is going to happen, right? And Gnodi and Cirrus are positioned to be part of that. They're not going to be the only ones, of course not, right? There will be several projects and several other things that will be out there. But what we can say is nobody else is doing it the same way as Gnodi. Nobody else is offering X1 nodes that are services that we all know and love and can't live without, right? Nobody else has the triple threat of offering great products at great prices and rewards. Nobody else is doing that. Okay, there are lots of crypto projects out there, lots of different tokenization projects out there, and they're great. And for those that want to be involved in them, great, wonderful, go do it, right? But what I can say is nobody has made it so accessible. Nobody has brought it down to the level of the everyday individual who just wants to be able to get rewarded for doing meetings, for going shopping, for traveling, for all those kind of things, right? That doesn't exist anywhere else. We have the exclusive on that, and that is really, really cool. So how are we going to make it all happen? We have an amazing parent company called BlockRain, okay? And they are in charge. They are the one. This is where we have our amazing leader, Kat Bonar, and other members of the blockchain community or the Gnodi community who are part of the parent company called BlockRain. And their whole entire premise, their whole goal is to create value in the token. They want to solve real world problems through blockchain technology. Their idea is to connect everyday products and services through blockchain technology, opening doors to opportunities bigger than ever imagined. Okay, companies and individuals all want an easy way to embrace this trend, to embrace this future of tokenization, right? These new economic opportunities. And BlockRain makes it simple by connecting products and services to a fully deployed layer one blockchain, which is Gnodi, okay? And so this lets businesses from all walks of life reward their customers in crypto for interaction and participation, giving companies a significant competitive edge. This I took right from the BlockRain website. You can go there, blockrain.tech. Okay. So if you want to share that with somebody, it's all there. It has a cat and, with her picture and her background and resume on there. It's public knowledge. Okay. BlockRain. It's there. It's available. It's not a secret. You can go look at it. And that is their message. That is, when we got to meet as a leadership council, we got to meet with Kat and with the other owners of Cirrus and everybody last Saturday, and we got to hear their perspective on everything. And this is basically the message that they shared with us, that their entire job is to go and create value, to go and create utility, to go and create utilization with the Gnodi blockchain. That is their whole point. And so one of the coolest things I heard them say was, in traditional networking, right, which is what we're all here for. We're here as affiliates or associates, and we're all of us are accustomed to going out and building a team and earning on a compensation plan, right, which is great. But that's what we're used to. We only usually have one way to earn money, right? One way to create a source of income, and that is building out the team and selling the products, right? Well, what they're saying is go do that. That's the gas that's going to keep you going over the next several months and everything, while they go out and create real value in the rewards. So now we have not just one way, not just one stream of income, which is the compensation. We also have a second one, which is the reward program. And then they're looking at other ways that we can actually have ways to increase our income as well in the future. So, but just know that we're not alone. We're not the only one. It's not just on us to go out and build teams and and sell the services and everything and sell nodes. It is BlockRain, the parent company, who's out there also bringing in companies and partnerships and other things, even potentially even like school districts and things like that, government kind of things that will bring value to the token and the blockchain. So it's awesome, everybody. What we have going for us is absolutely amazing. All right, so that is the presentation. So if you're not fired up after hearing all of that, I don't know what else to tell you, because I am, as I was putting this together, I was like, my goodness, I need to get my act together. I need to go out and get everybody I know involved in this, because I hadn't really put it, the one and one together, that 50% of the tokens are going out this year. Half of the entire amount. That's like saying, there's all this gold out there, and like when they found gold out in California and there was the gold rush, right? Well, the first people that got there got all the gold, and then all the people that came, months and years later, right, in the gold rush, they were the ones digging and trying to find it and everything. We are those first ones. We are the lucky ones that found the gold first. We are here in the beginning when that first initial half of all the tokens are getting paid out. So, my friends, let's do this. Let's go and share this with everybody. It's real. There's no doubt about it. It's working. We've got talented people at the top of this thing, from Kat to Craig to Bob. And this is happening with us or without us. So go stake your claim. Go do your land grab. Go buy your nodes. Get everybody at least on a micro node that you can, so they can see how this all works, because they will absolutely thank you later once the first halvening happens, and they go, oh, wow, thank you for letting me be part of it. All right, so with that, we'll go ahead and end the training for today. Hopefully that was helpful. And we will definitely plan on seeing you all in the future on the future trainings. I will get this recording out as soon as I can. All right, thanks everybody.